Now, Congressman Will Hurd from Texas, the only African-American Republican in the House. And Congressman Hurd, thank you for joining us this morning. I want to begin by getting your reaction to the president's tweets and what you just heard Congressman Nadler say they're racist.
Well, I think these tweets are different than the ones from a few days ago or a few weeks ago. I forget how long ago it was now. When you tell someone to go back to Africa or whatever country, that's in essence telling someone because you don't look like them that you are not American and that you do not have self-worth. That's why, I was one of the first Republicans to come out and question those. My style is to talk about what unites us, not what divides us. I think that is something that's better long run, and also is more helpful when it comes to trying to win elections.
But to focus on an entire city, call it rat and rodent infested, you see no problem with that?
Well, of course, he shouldn't, I don't think they're going to invite him to throw out the first pitch at a baseball game anytime soon. One of the things that we should be doing is talking about those things that bring us together. And we should be talking about how should we be doing in bringing opportunity zones to Baltimore to help the community. And opportunity zones is something that we passed in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act to make sure that economically distressed areas are seeing, some of the investment that other parts of the country are. That would be a better opportunity to talk about our message and the fact that we have record unemployment and things like that. I think that's where those kinds of conversations should be going.
But to be clear, you're drawing a line here. You condemned the go back tweets, but you do not condemn these tweets by the president?
I wouldn't be doing those, right? I wouldn't be tweeting this way, but I think they are different. And also, Elijah Cummings and Chairman Cummings is someone who I have worked with closely on all kinds of legislation. He is someone that cares passionately about his community and has been working tirelessly his entire adult life on behalf of his country and his community. And he is someone that he can defend himself.
Let's talk about the hearing, Robert Mueller's testimony before your committee on Wednesday. I want to show some of the closing colloquy between your chairman, Adam Schiff, and Mr. Mueller.
Knowingly accepting foreign assistance during a presidential campaign is an unethical thing to do.
And a crime.
And a crime.
Circumstances, yes.
And to the degree...
And a crime given certain circumstances.
We can agree that it's also unpatriotic.
True.
And wrong.
True.
From your reading of the Mueller report, do you believe the president and his associates acted unethically and in an unpatriotic fashion during the campaign?
I think the Mueller report identified a number of behavior that was unbecoming of an occupant of the White House. But one of the things Bob Mueller also said during the questioning on the Judiciary Committee by the ranking member of Judiciary, that the investigation was not impeded, it was not hindered, and it was not stopped. And he made that very clear. And I also think that Chairman Schiff made the comment about there was possibly no provable crime that was uncovered by the investigation.
But I think his broader point was that whether it was criminal isn't the only standard. One of the things, and we just heard Chairman Nadler say the same thing, that the Trump campaign welcomed the help from Russia. They worked with Russia in many different ways, several contacts during the campaign. The president was pursuing a Trump Tower in Moscow, his financial interests at stake, and then he lied about it. So whether or not that information is criminal, is it of concern?
Yes, it's of concern, and ultimately Bob Mueller was allowed to turn over every rock, investigate every lead, and he made it clear that the Russians, this was not a one-time event. The Russians are trying to do it even as we sit here, was his words. And so I wish the focus and attention that has been spent on white-gloving the Mueller report goes into how do we counter disinformation, and this is a strategy by the Russian government to undermine trust in our democratic institutions. And when we don't focus on dealing with a strategy on how to prevent that, then we are letting Vladimir Putin win. And so that's why we should be talking about how do we fix it. And disinformation is in essence propaganda that is being used in order to have a desired result. And they've been doing this, the Russians have been doing this ultimately for decades. Disinformation is a part of covert action. covert action is the responsibility of the CIA. But unfortunately, in the National Security Act of 1947, the CIA is not allowed to do covert action in the United States of America. So who should be responsible for dealing with disinformation? I think that's where we should be having hearings and conversations to talk about this. I tried to get Bob Mueller to make some suggestions on where he thought it was. He was unwilling to do that.
It starts with the president, though, doesn't it? As you know, the president told me just last month that he might accept foreign assistance again. There have been reports from inside the administration that he's been downplaying discussions of what to do to protect our election systems right now. Is the president doing enough to defend against another Russian attack?
Well, George, as you know, I spent 9.5 years as an undercover officer in the CIA. I wouldn't accept help from any foreign government. But here's what I do know. I know the CIA is focused on this. I know the FBI is focused on this. I know the Department of Homeland Security is focused on this issue, not only hardening our election infrastructure, the vote counting machines, the networks that aggregate those votes. They are working on trying to understand how groups like the Internet Research Agency is using social media and tools of social media to propagate disinformation. There's a growing narrative, it seems like, in the press that things haven't been done. You know, I had the first hearing back in 2016 on election interference before the elections were over. You had, under Jay Johnson, the Department of Homeland Security took election infrastructure as critical infrastructure, and at the time, secretaries of states around the country were hesitant to accept that level of support, but now they realize that's important, and we codified the Department of Homeland Security as the entity that should be working with the over 100,000 voting systems across the United States of America. So, and you know, go ahead.
I'm sorry, you didn't mention the president in that answer. Just a final question. Why do you support the president's reelection?
My plan is to support the Republican nominee. I believe the way we help solve problems in the future is by empowering people, not empowering governments. I believe that the way you help people move up the economic ladder is through free markets and not socialism. And ultimately, I think the way we're going to maintain and achieve peace in our world is by being nice with nice guys and tough with tough guys. This is a message that I've been talking about for the 5 years that I've been in Congress, and something that I know resonates not only with Republicans, but independents and Democrats as well.
Congressman, thanks for your time this morning.
Pleasure.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.